Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. I do thank you for tuning in, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into How to Eat to Live, book number 2. We are now in chapter 36, and it goes like this. The title, No Meat is Good for Us. It is true and understandable that we live in a poisoned world. Poison food, poison drinks, and poison spiritual food. The three mentioned above are the base of our life. Our lives depend upon them. We must again remember that the enemies of God and righteousness do not follow the path of righteousness in any way. They were made to form the teachings of their own. They could not have been the God of this world. If they had followed the world teachings and guidance, they would not have been an enemy of ours. But since they had to build a world different from ours, they did so. Do you think hard of them for doing that which they were made by nature to do? We have to be careful. Here is a good example that they did not intend to follow the course of our God. The God of truth, freedom, justice, and equality. In the Bible, Moses forbade them from eating the swine. Thou shalt not eat the swine, nor touch its carcasses. He says just the reverse. He challenges God by saying, what is wrong with the hog? Thou shalt eat it. And he fills his markets throughout the world with the divinely prohibited flesh, the hog. And 90% of the people followed them in breaking that law and everything else. If you will study it, you will see that if God says thou shalt not do, he says thou shalt do. God says do not swear or curse. The Bible then teaches that their mouths are full of swearing and cursing. He is truthfully a made devil. And we must take him for that. But he would like to deceive us, the righteous, in order to get us to follow him. I say eat the best of the food. The Orthodox Jews are right when they do not eat the hog and other poisoned foods. And if you buy from their markets, you will get the better foods. I do not make any mistake. I mean the Orthodox Jews who do not carry in their markets the type of poisoned foods consumed by the Christians. But one thing that we should remember is that we can produce our own foods if we can get into the earth to produce our own. Good whole beans and good whole milk and butter is fine for us. And if we eat meat, do not make a habit of eating a lot of beef. Eat lamb and sheep. As I have said time and again, that no meat is good for us, but we eat it. So that which we eat, try to eat the best of it. 37. Eat to live and not to die. Of all the thousands and tens of thousands instruction items on health issued by doctors and scientists regarding the type of food that we should eat, none of them is equal to the way that Allah, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, to whom praise is due forever, has taught us. Eating one meal a day, one meal every other day, or one meal every 3 days is a better way to obtain good health and long life than all of the tens of thousands of pamphlets and books authored by doctors, quack doctors, and would-be doctors. The divine points out the best way that will produce good health. We should not stuff our stomachs with food just because we have food to put in our stomachs 3 times a day. Some people are foolish enough to think eating 3 or 4 times a day is really the way to obtain good health. But take a second thought of what you are doing. You keep your stomach working all the time, trying to digest the surplus food for which your stomach has not even asked. He, Master Farad Muhammad, God in person, taught me never to eat when I am not hungry. He taught me to wait until I am fully hungry, then to eat until I am full, and not to eat again until I am really hungry. This is common sense. The pig eats all the time. The chicken eats all the time, as long as you give them food to eat. And their span of life is significantly short. The dog is greedy, but the hog is greedier. The dog will stop eating when it has eaten enough. If you continue to feed it, it will try to store the food until such time that it is hungry. Often you hear people say, "Come on and eat." And one will say, "I am not hungry." The reply is, "Eat before you get hungry." This is most unwise. It is inviting sickness and death. The mucus-forming foods eaten by the people should be replaced with such less mucus-forming foods as plenty of vegetables and fruits. Whole wheat bread should be eaten instead of white bread, which is mucus-forming. Let us try not to eat so much meat, especially animal flesh. No meat is good for good health and longevity. We must stop eating meat gradually, because actually, meat is not by nature a food for human consumption. Eating one meal once a day or once every 2 days with no meals between gives the body time to rest and digest machinery after the previous meal. And this gives the blood time to purify itself of the poisons from the last meal. After 3 days without taking food into the body, the blood is found to be in much better condition. Let us see if we can gradually stop eating animal flesh and chicken or fowls of any kind. Eat to live and not to die. Chapter 38. They eat as the beast eats. In parentheses, Holy Quran. Since the time of Moses, 4,000 years ago, we have followed the way of life taught to us by the white race, which often is referred to now in the religious language as the Christian race. The practice of eating by the white race is not accepted anymore by the people of Islam. To bring to the people a better health and longer life, it must begin with what they eat and how often they force the body to partake of foods for which their appetite calls. A slight reflection on the eating habits of the Christians and what they eat is enough for you and me to know that one's life would be limited to less than 100 years by such eating habits. The sign in the Bible by David, Psalms, limits the life of the wicked to 70 years, 70 years. And in another place, in the Psalms, he says that the wicked live not half of their days. We have history on what they made of themselves. Their history was written before they came into existence or were made, which speaks the truth of what they would be. Holy Quran. They have not, as yet, done anything as a surprise to Allah and the scientists. In fact, as Allah taught me that the scientists of Islam write all of our life histories on what we will do, even to the name of an outstanding person among us 25,000 years in the future. In this way, they must respect the knowledge of foreknowledge of God. We cannot blame the white race for its way of civilization, which already was written, and we cannot blame them for their way of civilization because it is not like ours, because they are not of us. They are a new people made among us with the nature training and teaching of their Father to do just what they are doing. They cannot help themselves. Many of them would like to do differently, but they cannot do that which they are by nature not made to do. This way of eating like the beast is true. They eat just about all of the time, 3, 4, or more times a day, and even between meals. This is the nature of a beast, and especially the hog and dog. They will accept food whether or not they can swallow it, and they will eat until they cannot swallow. There are other animals, beasts, of similar characteristics, but the swine and the dog are the greediest of all. The white race is mentioned in a teaching of the Bible in St. Mark chapter 5:13. In the evil spirits taken out of the man, mentioned there of being possessed with evil spirits, and the spirits begging Jesus to allow them to go into the hog. Here, the two are associated with each other, the evil spirits and the hog. The hog was not made evil by nature, but by nature it was made to serve the evil person. Therefore, both were made for each other. And that does complete chapter 38. And I'm going to end it right there. You notice with our How to Eat to Live, I kind of do like 3 chapters at a time. At least I try to. So I want you to stay tuned for chapter 39. A preview is going to be animal flesh. So I want you and your families this evening to be blessed and have a wonderful rest of the evening until I speak with you again here on Poem Praise 2. And later, y'all. Till next time. All right.